this low housing element in the rezone, and it's coming out at a time when people are not willing to invest in any type of construction right now. So have a little patience here.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Smith.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm glad, Ms. Glassy, that you clarified or gave us at least a few points on the county-owned property that's in the Hopland area, and I think that absolutely farm worker housing ought to be considered for that. It's an excellent location for such housing, and I think there would also be excellent private-public partnership opportunities there, and possibly grant funding and various things, and I think that it's something that ought to be given serious consideration, and tying in with our direction on green building and climate change issues. There could be some innovative things that could be done, and some experimental kinds of structures could be considered that would be cost effective, and I look forward to the opportunity to see what that might look like. Thank you.
And I have to say, it's actually very interesting talking with developers that have a great deal of experience, in this case in Sonoma County, in developing farm worker housing and low-income housing, and there's definitely a can-do attitude that goes along with that particular background.
One other quick comment. In 1995, I proposed selling the Hopland Road Yard property to be developed, and it was a position at the time that may be used as a future use for a road yard when the funding for transportation got better. Well, it never got better, so. But there was an attempt made back in 1995 to turn that into affordable housing.
Well, it may be good that we now have that as an option for us to look at.
Okay. Corrections, improvements to the report, et cetera. Patrick, when you were going through the maps, I didn't see a separate map for the Ukiah area in general. It was on the slide, but it's not in my book, so just check on that if you would. Minor detail. Under the recommendations to the staff, there's some very good ideas listed here. I'd like to see that somehow expanded with some background information. How many additional housing units do we need in general of what we have now? What are some of the very specific zoning laws and fee structures that we could change? What are some of the public subsidies, like Supervisor Smith mentioned? And certainly, if there is a need to increase grower awareness of the regulations presently that allow for that, there ought to be some type of creation of communications in this report to accomplish that. So there's some areas that we can expand on before we get to the final report. And I was one of the big proponents of this, not the big proponent, but certainly one of the ones that felt the need. Having farmed in this community about 1963, when I was about 8 years old, maybe before the child labor laws, whatever, but I've seen the need for housing clear back to then in 1963. And some of the conditions that existed then still exist, maybe and hopefully a lot less today, but they're still as poor conditions as they were then. And we need to move into this new era, and if we're going to really capitalize on our agricultural base for our economy, we have to make accommodations to take care of the workers doing the work. So I think this is a great start. A few details, improvement, expansion, etc. But I'm really excited to see this coming to this point. So I think it's a good product, and I'm not a statistical person per se, as much as a couple of my colleagues, but this is a good beginning, I think. And there are some inherent problems with trying to get answers and statistics back from this particular labor force. And we've done a pretty good job to this point. So thank you to the staff and to the consultant, and I look forward to the final product.
Thank you very much. It is an accomplishment, but like many accomplishments, as well as surveys, it's the beginning.
Yep.
and not necessarily the end of the discussion. And so, yes, when we look at the report as a whole, you know, our first focus is going to be to focus on the data methodology and those things and get that all polished. But then the next part is what is the follow-up to those items, and we will incorporate that. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I also want to just say, since Supervisor Colfax recognized Jerry Cox as talking about public-private partnerships, Jerry was part of starting Nuestra Casa in the first place as when we got a grant and as an employee working with the county and social services. And from those initial, you know, beginnings of ideas of wanting to make that happen, it is a freestanding, you know, self-supporting, as well as partnering with the county organization, Nuestra Casa, that it's become indispensable in the relationship between the county and the community. So, great
Well,
work
and
all the
I-
way around. And Jerry was at the beginning.
I would like to add to that, and this not be the only saluting of Jerry. I would certainly put my pen to paper to sign anything that would come before me to celebrate that
Okay.
situation. So,
Okay, Supervisor Colfax and I can look at that. So,
thank you.
You have your checkbook there?
Please step
Not
forward,
that kind of
Jerry.
favor.
I'm overwhelmed with the accolades here. Thank you very much. I just wanted to say, even though my last meeting on CDC was today, I just came up with, you know, I hate to see money going out of my pocket and it's not coming in. You do have a development arm of housing with CDC. I've never done any farm worker housing, but this is an opportunity maybe for them to get into the development of farm worker housing and also to get that development fee that would increase, you know, their fiscal health. That's my suggestion.
Thank you very much. Good idea. Any additional comments on this item?
I got a question.
Oh, Supervisor. Go ahead.
What kind of farmer were you back in '68?
Pear farmer. There's been a lot of reference to growing, et cetera, today, and weed experts, but this is the legitimate agricultural product. Okay, moving right along. Let's move to item 8C. There's been a gentleman in the audience who's been very accommodating to us, and this is an update regarding Prop 40 in the 4th District. Supervisor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This is an update for the board, similar to Supervisor Delbar's item I believe we had last week. This is on the Prop 40 funds. That as we know, these were dispersed to the individual supervisorial districts, including an allocation to the county itself for the purpose of improvements and enhancements and extensions of our county park system. So this is just to update the board that we're going forward on an action. This is an action item with a memorandum of understanding that's attached with the state of California. So this is in a sense trying to package some of the county monies and return them to parks, to their other additional matching funds and other monies that they have obtained to accomplish 4 specific tasks, and they're outlined in the project priorities. And I think this is an excellent use of the funds. There are no parks in the 4th supervisorial districts, no county parks. So this is an opportunity to partner with state parks in getting those recreational dollars to the public through these projects. So the first one, I'll just go over them very quickly. It's the installation of 40 water safety signs that will warn visitors about hazardous access points. The Frolic Cove Point Cabrillo, it's an interpretive signage that